Welcome to the Leadership and Culture First, where we would discuss the complexities of leadership and culture, but also offer solutions to aspiring new and experienced leaders. We invite guests to share their knowledge and experience and ask those challenging questions. As coaches, we aim to provide real insights, enable reflection, and challenge thinking. Join us on our mission to unleash your leadership potential. Welcome back, everyone, and thanks for joining us for this episode. For those of you who've listened to a couple of our episodes, you know we've had some really interesting guests on so far, and we've got more guests planned. But every so often, Nikki and I would like to have a bit of a reflection and a chat as to where we are in our journeys, but also what we've learnt from our guests so far. Would you like to? So, Nikki, let's just have a think. What have you learnt so far from our guests?
Well, what I've learned from the guests is that leadership comes in many different forms. And I don't think there is one clear way of undertaking leadership. And in conversations I've had with coachees, when I've asked them what kind of leaders they are, they come out with names and theories such as I'm a compassionate leader or I'm an inclusive leader and then actually when we dig into that, there's such a complexity of all of the different styles and models. And I think that's coming through on the podcasts. There's no one way of being a leader, and nor should there be. You don't always fit into the books that you see behind. This is about learnt experience, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things for me early on in our podcast with Laura Sarant, she talked about how she was actually a leader from a really young age. And it wasn't an official, leadership title or anything, but she took on that role as a leader within her family at quite a young age. And then that's influenced how she's gone on throughout her career. So I think that's really interesting, isn't it? It's you don't have to be in a leadership role to be a leader. And I think I've reflected on that and thought, absolutely. And how can we then work with people who aren't in a labelled leadership role to learn how to lead, but to not just learn, but to recognise the contributions they can make as leaders, whatever position they might be in.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we saw that with Jules when she was talking to us around firstly, the nervousness, and thank you, Jules, for such a fantastic podcast, but how she never saw herself as a leader, but she is leading in a very different way. And she is moving forward and identifying also ways of bringing leaders up with her and around her. So I think that's right. One size doesn't fit all. And as Laura said, you can start early. I've met leaders in all sorts of different roles. There are some fantastic support workers that I've met who have been leaders, students that I think I've met that you can see exactly where they're going to go. And we'll be talking to some of those, some of my old students really, who are now these amazing people, as well as people that are in leadership positions.
Yeah. I think just going back to Jules and her podcast, just hearing her speak has made me reflect and realise actually I've got a lot more to learn around neurodiversity and how I enable through my coaching and how I enable not just my coachees to think about that, but how I enable coachees who are neurodiverse and how we might support managers to be able to support their staff who are not, neurotypical members of staff. So yeah, I learned a lot from that. But mainly how brilliant she is and how much I've still got to learn.
Yeah, I think I learned that from both of our guests and their exciting journeys. And what I've really thought is one size does not fit all, and nor should it, because that will help us with any leadership journey that we decide to take. And if you're a leader in a certain profession or a certain place in that profession, doesn't mean you're necessarily going to stay there. Those leadership qualities will help you to move around in your career, and they will also help you in management. And it's about good communication as well.
Yeah.
That for me was really clear from our guests.
Yeah. I think it's also helped me reflect a little bit on think one of the things I've just written recently about courage and how that shows up. And I know this doesn't link directly to the podcasts that we've already discussed, but both Laura and Jules have shown real courage in what they've done in their careers. And so it did make me reflect a bit more on what that means for me, how I show up as a leader, and really made me reflect on how other people demonstrate courage through what they do. And it's not those kind of grand gestures of I've changed the world, look at these things that I've done. It's just showing up, those everyday conversations, sometimes difficult conversations, but also having that courage to be open and honest. And that's something we kind of ask our guests to be as well, to really talk through their experiences. So yeah, I've had a real reflect on courage just recently.
I think courage is an important one, and I think authentic is an important one, which really strikes me about our guests so far, and their leadership journeys, how they showed up as themselves, and actually it is themselves that people followed. Somebody once said to me, if you're a leader, then people will follow, but I don't think that's always the case. We're not seeing that globally at the moment. Just because you've got the title leader doesn't mean that people want to follow you,
No,
and nor should they. But
no.
I do think that the qualities that our guests displayed around being authentic and being trustworthy and being honest were really, really important. And we've mentioned that before when we talked about being a good line manager.
Yeah,
Those are things that you see as a manager as well as a leader. So maybe they cross
yeah.
over. What do you think about that? Because there's always a debate, isn't there, whether they're different, management and leadership.
Yeah, I think it's that, you know, some of the debates around I'm a manager. You can actually be a really good manager of resource, for example, if you're the in a role that requires you to save money or make cuts or rationalize services or those sorts of things. Doesn't necessarily mean you can take people with you when you do whilst you're doing that. So I think there are some people who are very good managers and leaders, some people who are very good managers, and some people who are excellent leaders, but need other people to support them in the managing the budgets bit, or, you know, writing business cases. Or so I think you can be both, but you can also be one or the other. I don't think it's naturally, if you're a good manager, you're a good leader, and vice versa. And no, I don't think you have to be either.
No, that's right. That demonstrates the there's no I in team, as they say,
Yeah.
and I think that's really important, because to be a leader, you need to have that really great functional team around you. And I've setting out on our own in this world, I've missed the team that I had before, and I recognise just how diverse they were in their skills and knowledge, how fantastic they were in their skills and knowledge, and in some ways, it made it easier to be a leader because they were there, they supported you, and you had other people's ideas and innovations. And I think that's great. When you hear about bad managers and leaders, that's often people who really do try to shoulder the world as well as change the world. And actually, they're not going to manage it on their own. It can be quite lonely.
Yeah. And just to say, having worked with you previously for a short time in that role, they are an excellent team, like you say. It makes all the difference, doesn't it, um,
Mm.
to being able to lead. Definitely. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it makes sometimes the team you have around you makes it easier to lead well, because there is that shared responsibility. And I think certainly for me, I have the courage to lead better. Is that the word? Lead better when the team around me are also striving for the same things. You know, there's that mutual respect for each other. We're open and honest. If you feel comfortable saying to someone, I've made an error, or I don't know the answer to this, or how do I do this? without feeling you're being judged. Particularly if you're in a more senior role, it's really difficult sometimes to say, I don't know how to do this, for that fear of being judged. But if you've got the right team around you, it makes it much easier.
They've got some great knowledge and skills to share.
Mm.
I think that's really important for the leader. Is a leader will help everybody else to stand as giants, not standing on the shoulders of giants. I mean, that's the really important thing.
Yeah.
When it comes to leadership, is recognizing where your skill sets in other people are and when they're not as well, because sometimes you can't be good at everything. If somebody's good at everything, then they're probably going to tell you they're good at everything, and they're not the people you want to be
And
with anyway. That's like, no thanks. I don't think I want to be with you.
No. Do I trust that you really are good at everything? Not very reflective if you're saying that.
And we've met those people, not on our podcasts, but we have met those people, and they aren't people that not certainly people that I found it difficult to work with, those people who think they're good at everything, because then there's no space for anybody else.
No, absolutely.
And there's very few one-man businesses that work that way.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, from that perspective.
Yeah, you led me on nicely, because what I was going to ask is, I know we've got guests coming up in the future that have taken the plunge to set up their own business and make a change in their lives to pursue something that's really passionate to them. I guess it's kind of what we're doing in a very similar way, but it might be quite nice just for us to have a chat about and reflect on that sort of journey, because there may be listeners out there that are thinking, should I, shouldn't I? What do I do? I'm unhappy with what I'm doing. This is what I really believe in and want to take that forward. I don't know if you've got any thoughts about that.
I think the biggest thing and the hardest thing is to take the plunge, and there is a safety in being in employment, or there used to be a safety with being in employment. But something that we were talking about the other day around culture, I think between the two of us over a cup of coffee, was around good culture and bad culture. And we have this wonderful opportunity by setting up our own business to set up our own culture, as well as influencing other cultures. And I think that's what really leads you forward, is, as you say, that passion, that desire to make a change. But it's not easy. And we would be wrong, I think, if we sat here and said it was easy. There are definitely moments of light and reflection, and there are also some really dark moments where you need people around you to be able to help you, like you. Which is why I'm glad we've done this together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a real privilege being able to choose the people that you work with, but also the job market, certainly in higher education and healthcare education, and even in the NHS at the minute. I mean, who knew there'd ever be redundancies in the NHS? But in the higher education sector, I think I think it's quite healthy to have a plan B. And it's not that you're being dishonest to your current employer or your current career, but I think I don't think it's a job for life anymore. Nor should you feel like you have to be in the same job for life. I think it's quite healthy to think about other options and opportunities. I think as you get a bit older, with
Easy.
Wisdom, easy. I know. I'm talking about myself, not you. Of
it's
course,
not older. It's experience. That's the word.
You kind of, my wisdom seems to have grown more recently, and I'm much more driven now by doing the things that bring me joy. And, things, I don't want it just to be a job. It's nice to get guaranteed money at the end of the month. And, sick pay and all the things that come with it. But there's come a time in life for me that everything I do, I want it to bring me joy. I want to be able to see and kind of see that people develop, get that instant, feedback.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing about bringing you joy. You know, that old adage about you spend a long time at work, so make sure it's something that you feel makes you happy at the end of the day. We have a long time to reflect when we retire. And at the moment, everybody works towards when we're going to retire. And in nursing, there's all this discussion about, do you go at 55? Do you go at 60? Do you go at 65? And can you stay till 90? You can do whatever you like. You can do whatever you want to do, so long as you are safe and effective
Yeah,
and functioning. And there's no reason why you can't do something that you're passionate about as well. You know, test your toe in the water, start it, do that consultancy. I think we often forget that we have a lot of skills in healthcare that work across many different areas. It's not all about healthcare. Look at that. We learn communication, we learn people skills, we learn all of those aspects around emotional intelligence, psychological safety. Um, and we are the most trusted profession. So those skills that we learn can help us to evolve into something different if we want to.
yeah. One thing I really admire about us, the younger generation. So I'm talking uh, students that come to university at 18, but also mature students. Think what I'm learning from the under 30s are is yeah. What I'm learning from the under 30s is that, and I think they sometimes criticised for it, is that they don't expect to be in the same job for life. They want to do different things. They want to. The amount of students I currently talk to who have already decided they don't want to work full time because they want a good work life balance, and I actually really admire that. They know their career is there as much for them as they are for their career. Um, and I'm hoping that that might lead to potentially lower levels of burnout, um, higher levels of engagement with, you know, things like CPD and learning and self-development and reflection. And I really admire them for that. I don't think it's a bad thing. I just hope that
So I wonder
the
how.
jobs they're going into can support that.
Yeah, I agree. And I wonder how the system changes to able to accommodate that and accept that from people. We've seen that over the last 20 or 30 years, I think, in healthcare, where people have started to look at maybe doing one or two different things. And it isn't a joke that nurses may want to only do 2 days a week and then do something else. Shouldn't be criticized for that. That doesn't mean that they're a bad nurse or that they're not committed to nursing at that point. So how do we accommodate them to do that? Maybe they want to do something like 2 days in acute care, a day in the community, and then 2 days out doing something of their own business or something that interests them around social enterprise or something like that. It's a different world we're moving into. And so as leaders, we need to be able to learn from them how to how to navigate that world. I think at the moment it's our world because we are still here, but it's their world. There's the future. When they come into that place, what are they going to be like, and what are they going to offer the next generation coming through?
Yeah. And it's making sure the culture's right for that, isn't it? I think there's got to be a real
Yeah.
cultural shift in organisations to enable different ways of working. I don't just mean flexible working. Everyone's got a policy on flexible and agile working, but I think actually living it, breathing it, understanding it, believing in it is different to having a policy about it.
I
But
love
yeah, I
to
think
see
go.
the young. Sorry.
No, carry on. See the young, carry on.
I'm always good at interrupting. I love to see the young students and the young people coming through being able to do what we're doing. Oh, and then I can speak for me towards the latter end of their career. They're doing this at the beginning, and we're going to have some of these people on our podcast who are young, exciting individuals who are doing things that they saw a niche and they've developed it and they've moved it forward.
Yeah, completely. And then look at us in the decade that we're in, embarking on a new, exciting endeavour, slightly scary, but I think necessary. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in a really positive way. Um, you know, I think we've talked about this before, about us sharing not just our wisdom, but that whole thing of enabling others to really understand themselves. That's through our coaching, which does definitely bring me joy. I love it. Absolutely love. And I know you do as well. Absolutely love coaching. But also working with teams to get them to realise their strengths in their organisation, where they need to develop at different levels of an organisation as well. It's really exciting, isn't it? I don't look
It is.
excited,
And I think,
but I am.
no, you do. You are completely excited. And I think one of the important things that I've really seen and heard through some of the reading and some of the learning, because as coaches you continue with your CPD, is there's something that I blogged about actually, which was around people don't really know what coaching is, and they don't really know what coaching can do for them. And that gives us a unique opportunity as a leader to be able to show that, to be able to say, this is how we can help you, but also explore that with them. But the first thing is to get across the line in healthcare for people to understand the benefits of having a coach. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I wish I'd had a coach earlier in my career. Doesn't mean you have to come every month or every week. You're not turning up at school. This is about somebody helping you to unlock what's already in you at that time of your career and move you to the next phase.
And that you've hit the nail on the head. It's that whole thing of seeing someone come to their own realization about what they need to do, what they want to do, how they need to change. It's like, I haven't even told you this. It's all in your head, and we're just there to bring it out of them. I mean, don't get me wrong. I used to love mentoring, and I still love mentoring people, and mentoring's also really valuable. But there's something very special about coaching, I think, and very different about it.
Yeah, I always feel privileged that people take you on that journey with them, unlocking things within themselves. And I have to say at this point, coaching isn't counselling or psychotherapy or any of those areas that people think what you're doing. And when people ask me, well, you're a coach, what do you do? They get a little bit confused about, was it because they understand sports coaching, but not coaching. And that's where the difficulty will come. With coaching businesses, I think, that are developing particularly, and you see a lot of them coming up across healthcare, because people who've experienced it see the value of it, but those that haven't experienced it, why would they pay for it? Why would they come forward and want to invest in themselves or in their teams that way? So there's a little message there, or a plea, is just take some time and think about what coaching can do, or try it and see what coaching can do. Speak to HR departments and other areas that can help you to find a coach, or call us and we'll talk it through with you, because that's the first conversation in coaching, isn't it? To have a conversation with an individual and say, well, what do you think it is? And what do you think it can do for you?
Oh, it's really interesting, because I had a client once say to me, oh, this feels like counselling. It's absolutely brilliant. But it's not. but it's not. She
fill
knew
you with fear, Sharon.
I was like, oh, goodness, what have I done? And what am I doing? But it boiled down to the reason that they thought it was, it felt like that for them, is because they never take time for themselves. It's a busy executive in a really senior job that never takes time for them just to sit, reflect, think, come up with their own solutions. And that's what that particular session, that day, that's how they felt. And I just thought, okay, that's fine. I haven't been counselling you. This is good. I haven't overstepped the mark here. But that's what they meant by it, was the fact that they'd actually taken time for themselves. They'd come up with their own solutions. I was just asking the questions. And I think and I don't know if it's the same for you, but my clients, they get really challenged by the questions that I ask. Really challenged in a really positive way. And I think if we're challenging their thinking, then we're doing our job as a coach.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think it's always comfortable. And I think there is a line where a good coach will always refer to a counsellor or to a psychotherapist if that is required, and then that's how that moves into that arena. But they are challenged. I've been coached as well, and it is about challenge. It's about those light bulb moments, as one of my clients says. There's always a light bulb moment, she says, in every session. I go, great, because that's why you're here, and it's wonderful to see as a coach. It's absolutely brilliant to see, and that's what I come out, I'm buzzing after a session because I've seen somebody has taken a step forward, and then I'm really interested to find out how that's affected the way forward on the next time they come for the next session. So it's a great opportunity. It's terrifying to set up your own business. There are so many skills that we're having to learn that are business skills, I think, more than anything. And I can make a plea as an entrepreneur, business owner, please will somebody stop adding codes to everything, because you need a different code for everything. And I'm a dyslexic, and it blows my mind. And if I didn't have you grounding me, I think the computer would have ended up out the window on several occasions. So be kind to yourself if you're taking this journey. Give yourself a little bit of space as well. Because as you've often said to me, this journey is as much for our way of living as well as it is for our clients. So it's as much our journey as it is theirs.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. It's not made easy for people they don't make it easy to set up on your own. At least we're not doing it on our own. There's 3 of us. Our other Ethan behind the scenes, who often despairs with us but guides us. He's our guiding light. He'll be pleased to hear that.
He will.
But yeah,
and that's where youth comes in, because they roll their eyes at us because we don't know what we're doing. So that I have discovered about youth is they look at you and you make you feel even older than you did before, because you think, oh,
yeah,
I thought that was a sensible question. So,
yeah. So yeah, I think it is, but I think it is taking that step, that back to that courage argument, to do something that you really believe in. And it isn't always the easiest path at all, but yeah, and we'll get there. It takes a while. It's taken us a while, but we will get there. And I think it will create something we can be really proud of. I really do.
Yeah. And that is what we've seen in our previous 2 guests, is they have created and are creating something that they should be very, very proud of. They are definitely leaders in their field, but leaders as well as entrepreneurs and as women. And there are going to be men coming on the podcast, just to let everybody know that, because we feel like we need to invite them along as well, just so that they can have a chat with us and tell us the difference. And lots of exciting stories coming forward around leadership and culture first.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to our guests that we've got coming up. Got some really exciting, really interesting people to listen to, regardless of what, I think, background and profession you come from. There are things to learn from each of our guests. So yeah, hope you continue to join us. Anything else from you, Nikki?
I guess there's always that little moment, isn't there? So I'd say from me, thank you for listening. I hope our little chats and reflections are just as exciting as our guests, but take from each one of these podcasts one question that you can reflect back on yourself and ask, have I learnt anything, or am I doing anything that other people are talking about that is right, or would I do it differently?
Absolutely. Super. Thank you. Thanks for listening, everyone. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. And we look forward to seeing you on our next podcast. Cheers, everyone.
Coming soon. Bye.
Bye.